Hey guys, it's Jesse. I'm back with you today, and Matt is back there behind the camera laughing at my handwriting. But regardless of that, I wanted to quickly jump in and talk with you about 3 negotiation strategies that really work. And before we do that, I do want to share with you that negotiation has not really always been one of my strengths at all. I've never really been that good at it. I've been kind of intimidated by it. But over the past year, it's been something that I've been studying quite a bit. And I've learned several different things that I want to share with you today that will hopefully give you a very quick way to improve your own negotiation abilities. So the first, find my marker here, the first strategy that I'm going to talk about today is ultimate and minimum. And essentially what this is just an abbreviation for what I'm going to share with you here, which is know what your ultimate scenario is and know what your minimum scenario is. In other words, know if you could get the most that's possibly reasonable to get out of this negotiation, what would that look like? What's your ultimate best case scenario for how this could work out? But you want to also know your minimum. What's the point where this deal gets bad enough that I'm willing to walk away and not have a deal at all, right? So whether that's a dollar amount or whether there's a certain term that you really need to have or whatever, you need to know where that spot is, where as long as it's over this line, I'm willing to make the deal, but as long as if it's even an inch under it, I'm out. Right? So if you know these 2 things when you walk into a negotiation, you're going to be way ahead of everybody else because you're going to be way more intentional. A lot of people aren't that intentional when they go into a negotiation. They just have a number in mind or whatever that they're thinking about, and then they try to fight for it, right? Well, if you know exactly what you want and exactly the least you're willing to accept, you're way ahead. In the best case scenario, you've taken time to think about your ultimate in advance, right? So you have more tools, more cards to play with. If there's something like they say, okay, well, I'm willing to give you this, I'm willing to give you this, but I need you to take away that. You go, okay, well, I'm willing to take away this, but I need you to give me that, right? You need to know what that thing is that you want. And the more you understand your ultimate scenario, the more you understand what you have there. So I actually gave you a little bit of a sneak preview of number 3 by accident there, but number 2, the strategy, the second strategy that really works well for negotiation is what I call the magic question. And I did not make this up. I was actually in a negotiation workshop several months ago where they talked about this, and it was a pretty mind-blowing thing, and I've used it ever since. But this question is this: under what circumstances would you be willing to X? So let's say that you've been going back and forth and you've been negotiating with this person, this group of people or whatever, and you know your ultimate, right? So let's say that you know you're not going to be able to get your ultimate because you've talked about it for quite a bit, but maybe there's like something that's 80 or 90% of that, and that's what you're trying to convince them to do. Instead of saying, well, I want this, or you got to give me that or I'm out. Any of those types of things is sort of like a win-lose environment, right? You want to create a win-win environment with your negotiation. So when you ask, under what circumstances would you be willing to, whatever it is you're trying to get them to do, then you basically put the onus on them to figure out how to make the deal abide by your terms, right? So what if I said, hey, Matt, under what circumstances would you be willing to go to the movies tonight and just hang out, have a beer or something, have a good time, just chill and stop filming, whatever. Matt would say, well, man, I don't know. I guess if you have 2 hours that you could set aside tomorrow for filming, even though we weren't planning on filming tomorrow, I guess I'd be willing to then. Right? So you can see how I would be putting the onus on Matt to tell me what the terms would be in order for him to agree to my desired outcome. So that's way better than just trying to force somebody to go your way or whatever else. Ask, under what circumstances would you be willing to whatever you want? That's number 2. Number 3 is the concession rule. I literally just made up that name right here on the spot, so I kind of like it actually. It sounds good, but the concession rule is essentially this thing where a lot of times when people ask you to make a concession, which would be like, hey, okay, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to need you to cut this out. And what most people do at that point is they go, oh my goodness, they gave me an opportunity to get the deal. All I have to do is say yes to what they're asking me for, and I've got the deal. Right? So we get a little too excited, we jump in too soon, we accept the concession, we give the concession, and the negotiation's over, right? Well, anytime you give a concession like that, there needs to be a condition. You need to ask for something in return. Because what they've told you essentially is that they like the deal as a whole, but there's something that they want above and beyond. So then basically what that does is it puts you in a situation where you can give it to them, but you can also, in terms of fairness, ask for something as well. So you had the deal here, you agreed on the deal, they said as long as this can happen. So now it's only fair for you to have one too, right? So if Matt said, hey, I'll, like we talked about a minute ago, I'll go to the movies and just take the night off and just hang out with you as long as you're willing to meet tomorrow. And then I could say, okay, I'm willing to meet tomorrow as long as you can do it at 10 a.m. because that's the only time slot I've got free. That's me responding to a concession according to the concession rule, right? I'm agreeing to his concession, but I'm throwing out something that I need too. So whenever you don't know what you want, you don't know what your ultimate is, it's hard to do that, right? Because you don't know enough to know what to ask for. So you always want to, before you go into a negotiation, think, what's my ultimate best case scenario? What's the minimum? What's the point where I'm willing to walk? Where anything above that is good? Am I using the magic question? If I get to a point where I think we're getting close to a deal, I can say, or maybe we're far away and we can't even get there, under what circumstances would you be willing to X? And then finally, the concession rule. Once again, if they ask you to bend on something, agree to it if you can, but ask them to bend on something back. Hopefully you end up at a win-win. The thing I'm going to leave you with is this. Negotiation is not about me winning and you losing, or you winning and somebody else losing. It's not about getting as much as you can possibly get. It's about maximizing. It's really about not leaving anything on the table. If they're totally willing, in all fairness and everything else, to give you this marker in exchange for what they want, take the marker, But if you don't know they're willing to give you the marker and you've not negotiated to get the marker, you'll make the deal and not even get it. You know what I mean? So it's all about maximizing so that you get not just a win-win, but the best possible win-win. Hopefully this makes sense, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as usual. You know where the comment section is. Share this with your friends on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram and all the other social media channels as well. But your homework for today is some point in the next week, I want you to use the magic question and tell me how it works out for you. Hey, even if you can use it, maybe you can do it right now. Go try it in the next 5 minutes. Comment in the comment section below. Let me know how it works. I promise you'll be impressed. Talk to you soon.